But hey, I loaded my dishwasher with hand soap yesterday and there were bubbles pouring out of it. And then this is Kwong. Your PhD is not in dishwashing. To be honest, why is it bad if you use dish soap for like washing your hands? Is there a reason why that's bad? It's abrasive to your skin. Like, does it cause like irritation? It will dry your skin out. Okay. I just don't, oh god damn it. The suffix "ussy" is the 2022 American Dialect Society Word of the Year. I sent this tweet out the other day. On TV, they said there's 5 head coaching vacancies. And I literally thought 5 head. I was like, oh, 5 head coaching, like, oh, like who? It wasn't a who. It was a where.
Claude Debussy.
Yeah, then this happened. The internet has ruined all of us. Specifically y'all. I mean, I'm wearing an OnlyFans hoodie. Everyone has their breaking point tussie that makes them say, enough internet for me today. For me, it was the TikTok about Max Rebo, the leader of Jabba the Hutt's Jizz Band. Yes, the music play diegetically in the most Star Wars movies called Jizz. Although the Book of Boba Fett appears to be going for some Latin jizz fusion, illustrating that Max Rebo's hands are actually his feet. What? So this is the worst paragraph I've ever read in my life. Technically, when he's playing his Max Rebussy, is just all over the place for everyone to see. After watching, I closed the app, went outside, and touched grass. I hate this paragraph. 82 NFL games is in the top 100 most watched TV shows of 2022. At football emoji at number 35 is the 4-10 Broncos losing to the 4-10 Rams by 37 points on Christmas, which got more views than any NBA, Major League Baseball, World Cup, Oscars, or any scripted TV show. Football, and then political programming. Ah, political programming, dude. And then here's like the Olympics, the Winter Olympics at one point, some World Cup games, college football, and then the Kentucky Derby. It's actually kind of crazy that the Kentucky Derby is such a spectacle. Like, of all the things, the Kentucky Derby, which lasts, what, a minute and a half? I would love to see this, except for streams. Like, I would love to know, like, what the top streams were. We provide mental health support to about 4,000 people using GPT-3. Here's what happened. God, I hope this is satire. To run the experiment, we used Coco, a nonprofit that offers peer support to millions of people. Messages composed by AI and supervised by humans were rated significantly higher than those written by humans on their own. Response time went down to 50% to well under a minute. And yet we pulled this from a platform pretty quickly. Why? Once people learned the messages were co-created by a machine, it didn't work. Simulated empathy feels weird. Empty. Machines don't have lived human experiences, so when they say that sounds hard or I understand, it sounds inauthentic. In this case, I feel like we're missing the point a little. Like, the idea that could it be better is really an interesting way to frame it, right? Because these services, these things never said it was going to be better or worse. These things just said, here's an available option, right? And the thought like that, hey, 4,000 people used GPT-3 assisted therapy and it was bad for them. Well, like, peel back the layer. They weren't looking for that, right? They were offered an opportunity on a place where they're already looking for online therapy, right? That's what Coco does, right? They're already in a place where they want help. They're actively seeking it if they're on your website. And then you're introducing another layer of like, hey, well, rather than getting help from a person, how about an AI-assisted person? Perhaps one theory is if you were able to scale it and it was accurate, then maybe you could help many people, many more people than than you're currently able to support, right? There aren't that many humans to answer as many customers, right? You know, what if the consequence of not being able to talk to a human is something that's really like painful to someone? This could be helpful, but at the end it wasn't, because it wasn't human enough. It's not whether or not your experiment went well, but it's whether or not people got the right treatment. Is this a good idea, or is this bullshit? And like, we're just not deep enough with this technology to know whether or not it's a good idea or bullshit. It is truly still speculative. Like the use case of this stuff is just not there yet. As a data scientist, I want to believe that soon enough the models will get very powerful. But the specificity of any one model requires a lot of data that I don't think exists. So the idea that these large language models can be specific enough to like replace specialists is not just naive, but like dangerous. Very important finding on crosswalks yield rates and speed. At 20 miles an hour, 3 out of every 4 drivers yield to pedestrian a basic crosswalk. At 30 miles an hour, that drops to 1 in 8 drivers. That's wild. At 20 miles an hour, you're essentially yielding to everyone, unless you basically yield at all times. At 10 miles an hour, you're yielding to everyone. At 30, Jesus, that's crazy. I saw this pitch for high density downtown areas that had no crosswalks and had cars and people like sharing the same roads, right? And the idea was, if you have cars and people basically walking and operating at similar speeds, you would have nearly 0 incidences of accidents and traffic flows and all of these things. Do not pay. Will pay any lawyer or person $1 million with an upcoming case in front of the Supreme Court to wear AirPods and let our robot lawyer argue the case by repeating exactly what is said. Oh, apparently the Supreme Court bans any electronic devices from being present in the courtroom when court is in session. Would you let AI just defend you? No. But what if you're going to get $1 million regardless? In a Supreme Court case. I mean, we're not talking about like your Judge Judy, like, I want my deposit back kind of case. I can't think of a scenario where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna let the bot do it. Minor thing, but I had no idea that pandas had some effective ways of working with timestamps. It makes sense since it's so important for data sets, usually defaulted and built-in stuff, but this is great. We use this kind of stuff all the time, right? Pandas to date time, and then the built-in pandas time delta date time stuff. That's why whenever I go in and working with time data, anything with dates, anything with time, I tend to convert it as soon as possible into a time column, because subtracting dates and making sure that the time actually matches up to what the fuck is actually real in time is really important at times, no pun intended. But simple things like when you're looking at minutes and you want to make sure that your minutes and your seconds are counted correctly, right? And that when you look at like 6.9 minutes, that's not that's the same number as like 6 minutes and 54 seconds. Always use built-in pandas stuff. Like, I know you could do it outside of pandas. I always use the built-in stuff. Even adding and subtracting shit, I use the built-in pandas stuff. I just do. This might be the most hilarious book blurb I've ever seen. Really embarrassing. Mike Pompeo couldn't find anyone else to praise his book. Mike Pompeo never give an inch. My new book reads like a thriller with stories from my heart. Mike Pompeo. Bro, there's no way. Welcome to the best stream in the world, as stated by Nick Wan. Good morning. If the only things you've ever done with R rely on the tidyverse, you don't know R and can't claim to. If we're going to keep gatekeeping, let's just make the bar you can't claim to know a language unless you can write a function that does a thing. There's a lot of R people who are in this stream. I, of course, am a part of the snake language. In general, in most communities, unless you're a chill bro who kind of gives no advice, or at least no functional or good advice, a lot of people tend to have the advice that's kind of, it feels a little combative. And whether that is just their personality or how they learned it, or they're putting you through some sort of like community hazing. But I have always felt this way when asking for help, and I'm so glad that Stack Overflow has ultimately replaced me asking anyone for help, simply because the things I typically do, at least on this stream, aren't very complex. And so there's usually a solution out there for me. But two, just the anxiety of someone thinking I'm a fucking buffoon and them telling me to my face that I'm a buffoon makes me just not want to learn more about anything. Especially if I'm starting out to do something, right? That was my first experience with programming. And that's definitely the seemingly the unending experience with a lot of people in the community. There are definitely people out there who kind of want to show that they are experts and usually do it in obnoxious ass ways. It's like you can't play piano if you don't play the... Yeah, exactly. Oh, you learned how to play pop songs before you learned how to play Mozart? Well, you don't know piano. Like, bro, literally every dick in the bag, feel free to eat all of them.